is so that I can get across to you how irresponsible and idiotic these lockdowns are. And so we know that there's a political aspect to this, right? It's not scientific based, it's not medical based, it's not safety based. It's all under pretense of false sense of security that they're trying to create. And as Ben Franklin had said many, many years ago, a couple of hundred years ago, that those who are willing to exchange their freedoms for an illusion of security, and again, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact words he said, but it's something to the extent that those who are willing to exchange freedom for security deserve neither, right? And this is an illusion of security. It's not even real security. It's just an illusion of security. So if you start to understand that these lockdowns are designed specifically for things that you and I would never believe in 100 years, we would have never believed had they been presented to us last November, a year ago, nobody would have believed. This would have sounded like some kind of a, plot for another movie. And yet exactly that's what they've done. They used Ebola and Contagion and some of these outbreaks, these movies, to help prepare us mentally. Same thing. There's a virus. We're too stupid to know what to do. The government's going to come in and they're going to protect us. And they're going to try to create these red zones and green zones and all this other stuff. So as Ron Paul goes on to say, and this is really important because, if you think about it for a second, I just go off on tangents, and people that know me know that that's my tendency, but I want to go back because this was all a backdrop to bring this point up what Dr. Ron Paul had said. He asked, are we headed in the same direction as Nazi Germany, as the Soviet Union? And then he goes on to come to what was my favorite part of this email, where he talks about America's sweetheart doctor. Okay? What does America's, quote, sweetheart doctor have to say about Americans standing up and pushing back on the authoritarian government? Speaking on Thursday about the coronavirus, Dr. Anthony Fauci, guys, listen to these words now. This is the, I don't even want to, anything I say negative about this guy is not going to be adequate enough, and I don't want to bring myself down to his level, but speaking on Thursday about the coronavirus, Dr. Anthony Fauci said that the American, quote, independent spirit, end of quote, has gotten in the way and now, quote, is the time to do what you're told. So Anthony Fauci is saying that the American independent spirit is the problem, and that independent spirit needs to be crushed and put down, and you, the American people, need to shut up and sit down and do what you're told. That's what he's saying. Well, I just got one little message from Dr. Anthony Fauci, and I hope that this message gets to you, Dr. Anthony Fauci. You want me to sit down and do what I'm told? As we used to say in high school, make me. And I'll just leave it at that. Because there are only about 72 million people that I know of that are not going to put up with that. And I would venture to say that most of those 72 million are armed and ready to do what's necessary. They are locked and loaded, and they are fully prepared to engage in whatever is necessary in order to retain their God-given sovereignty and their freedom. And believe me, many of those people may not realize the full implications, but they are a certain component of that 72 million that do realize that what they're standing up for is not just American sovereignty and freedom, it is for the freedom of the global presence of humankind on this planet. They know that they are standing up for the sovereign right of every human being in every inch of this planet. Because as goes the U.S., so does the rest of the world. And I have had this message sent to me, said to me, dictated to me from friends, from patients, from all over the world, that I hope you Americans understand. I hope you Americans never give up your weapons. I hope you Americans see what's happening. They're trying to relegate this authoritarian regime but they know that the first and foremost thing they have to do is to disarm the public. That's the reason for gun controls. That's the reason for some of these false flag events, to create this illusion of guns are the problem, guns are the problem, guns are the problem. Guys, let me tell you how much guns are the problem, okay? If you think freaking guns are the problem leading to violence in our society, then I've got some news for you. You need to make every freaking spoon, fork, and knife illegal, because that is the reason for our epidemic in obesity right now. If you're going to blame guns for gun violence, for people dying because of inappropriate usage of weapons, if you're going to blame it on guns, then you need to start blaming the problem of obesity on spoons, knives, and forks. And we know that's absolute stupidity at its highest level. Well, guess what? If you start saying that about the guns, it's the same thing. In other words, it's not the tool, it's the idiot wielding the tool that's the problem, right? A car is a great tool because it's a mode of transportation, and a gun is a bad thing because it kills people. But guys, guess what? You put an alcoholic behind that wheel of that car, and he's going to kill a whole bunch more people than a gun discharging. And that gun comes in handy if somebody's coming in to break into your house or to force you to take a vaccine or whatever else the case may be in order to defend yourself. So it is not the tool. It is not the gun. It is not the knife, spoon, or fork. It is not the car. It's the person who's using the knife, spoon, or fork, or the person who's handling the gun, or the person who's driving and operating that vehicle. So we got to remember to start taking responsibility for ourselves. As a species, we have to take responsibility. We have to take responsibility for the planet. That doesn't mean looking at the BS of climate change and thinking that do we really think that we are making an impact on climate? No, sure, there's things that we can do to make sure that our soil is clean and not put glyphosates and garbage like that into our soils, and make sure that we keep our gases that are the outgassing from the manufacturing plants and the mercury combustion of fossil fuels that put out the mercury vapor into the atmosphere. Sure, we need to do those things. We need to be responsible for our environment. But to start to sell carbon credits and to get carbon credits for this and carbon credits for that, what the hell is that? What is a carbon credit? I mean, just think about it for a second. You're paying somebody to get rid of guilt? I mean, these are absurd thought processes that for some purpose, somehow have become very popular. They haven't really become popular because organically they were pushed by an agenda behind it. So again, come back to reality and understand that we have a right to defend ourselves. We have a right to be able to move freely and not to have to show papers like they did in Germany or like in certain parts of the world you have to do or had to do. That's what they're talking about. This is a playbook right from Nazi Germany. These are components that are being set out 100% exactly like the playbook that dictated what happened in Nazi Germany. So it's no surprise if you start looking at the history of eugenics and you go back and start looking at some of the families that came from that part of the world and became leaders of industry in the United States, and how some of the titans in industry right now, the big names that are out there right now, how some of these names are actually, without us even knowing about it, directly connected, either immediate or one generation away from some of these other people, or maybe their cousins or first cousins or whatever the case is. But just look at the family of Bill Gates and look at his mom and dad and see where they came from and what companies they were involved with and how they were only. Well, I'm not going to go back to It's Time to Wake Up. The videos on YouTube and on Instagram. In fact, if you're on Instagram, you can see it. On YouTube, I don't think that they've taken it down. Yeah, I really feel sorry for my Instagram followers that are getting slammed. They keep on getting locked out. But just go and look at It's Time to Wake Up, Part 2 of 4. Okay, there were 4 videos, and look at Part 2, and it's a 7-minute video, and it'll give you the entire history.